All right, how's it going, Clay? Clay Bierman YouTube channel. I'm Ross from the With Ross YouTube channel, and we just thought it'd be fun to talk about EVs and whatever other topics come up. Just kind of something that might be interesting for some viewers on the internet. So,
Once I get going, I'm all right. But
yeah,
I just pause so much and because I think before I speak. I guess I don't know if that's a thing anymore. People do.
yeah, right. Talk first, think later.
I think we should kind of explain how we know each other. So Ross, he's a fellow officer from the Marine Corps that we met while in Pensacola together. We played a lot of frisbee together, so it just kind of became friends. So then we kind of just stayed in touch through LinkedIn. And
yeah, playing frisbee, going biking, hanging out in Pensacola, Florida.
all on the Marine Corps' dime.
And then shortly after that, you had kids and you went to become a logistics officer and decided to get out.
I guess, yeah, I'll talk about the Marine Corps in another video, but yeah, I'm out now. I got 2 kids and I'm a stay-at-home dad who makes YouTube videos occasionally and likes talking about EVs and likes EVs and solar power and all that boring stuff, fun stuff, I guess. I don't know.
So that transitions into our topic. So you're the proud owner of is it 2013 Chevy Volt?
Yeah, so me and my wife own a 2013 Prius. That was our first kind of hybrid vehicle. We've had that for 6 years, and I've had a 2013 Volt, which is a plug-in hybrid vehicle, meaning you plug it in and it runs on electricity for a certain amount of mileage, and then if you run out of that electricity, there's a gasoline engine that runs like a normal car, so you can go as far as you want. I've had that for over 5 years now, and then my pure EV, that's an only EV, is my Zero SR motorcycle. And that just runs on electricity. It's got a 14.4 kilowatt hour battery, and it can go, it depends how you ride, a lot. I think Zero says 90 miles if you go at a consistent 70 on the highway, and up to 179 miles if you're going in city driving, stop and go because of the regen. So the way I drive, I would say about 120. I do a lot of 55, 60 country road type stuff. And my channel, it's just my name, Clay Bierman, but I don't want to brag, but I have 407 subscribers.
No, you have a cool niche forming, which is why I wanted to talk about EVs, because and some of your EV videos have taken off more than others. And
yeah, and honestly, I'm just kind of I'm kind of boring, and I'm kind of just a realist in that to me it's normalized because I've had them for so long, right? Plugging in my Volt every day for the last 5 years. And so it's just normal to me.
But you're wearing a Tesla shirt right now, aren't you?
Yeah. The only Tesla things I own are clothing. Got a few.
So I think it's a cool niche for you, and especially, I mean, this is the start. You were early adopter, really, with that, because it's 10 years from now, everyone's gonna have an EV, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know. What got me interested in EVs and oh, these exist and they're out there was Who Killed the Electric Car? The first. Have you seen that documentary?
Yeah, the GM car or something.
Yeah, about the GM's EV1. And
yeah, I did see that.
In my mind, all of a sudden, I'm I could be driving, an EV to I was in college. It was during the summer, and I was working at Walmart in the deli over the summer, and I'm I could be driving an EV the 10 miles one way back and forth to work and not using any gas. It's why is everybody burning gas when they could just be driving an EV? So that was 2012. So Tesla became just a thing. They had their Roadster out, the Tesla Roadster, but that's a $120,000 car. And the Model S, I think 2012 was the first model year for that. And again, that was a very expensive car. So I couldn't afford it. And for me, really, there was nothing except for, I'd have to look at the years, but maybe a Nissan Leaf. But, I was in college and wasn't ready to spend $30,000 on a new car. We can go into the advantages and disadvantages, but I'm not anti-gasoline. 2 of my cars use gasoline still. So I mean, if money were no object, I would have a Model S and a Model X sitting in my garage right now. But I'm a realist, so I have what I can afford.
Right. Yeah. Have you driven a Tesla?
So first time I test drove a Model S in 2013, and I've driven a Model X, a Model 3, and a Model Y. So I've driven all the cars that they make. This is old hat to anybody who actually owns one, but it's always amazing how have you ever driven one?
Yeah, a month ago, I had my first experience.
What'd you drive?
The S, or the 3.
So the small one, their smaller car.
Yeah.
Was it the performance or just like long range? Remember?
Yeah, it was the performance one, and yeah, I'll talk about my experiences with that in a moment. But yeah, you can go ahead.
And what's funny about that is I've actually never driven a performance model, but like if you're a normal person and you're looking at like, all right, 4.5 second or 4.2 seconds 0 to 60 compared to a 3.5, like, you know, you're not going to notice. Yeah. Like they're all just quick. I mean, my Volt goes like 0 to 60 in like, it's like 8 or 9 seconds, but like the 0 to 30 is really quick on that car.
Yeah.
So that car still feels fast, but like a Tesla they just go, and it's crazy. It's kind of like my motorcycle. It just goes. There's no drama involved. It's interesting, especially if you're in traffic and you're driving an EV, especially a Tesla. You're like, you know, you're sitting high and mighty. You look around and you look at all these other cars and you're like, what the hell is everyone else doing?
Yeah.
And like they're old like trucks and gas burners, and they're just all idling, sitting there, and it's just like
that's why cars seem stupid.
Yeah, that's why it makes the most sense to like EVs or hybrids. It's just because, especially in like city driving, which is, you know, the majority of how people drive, where they drive, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realize like not everyone can afford a brand new car or a really nice used car.
My story with Tesla, I just recently moved to Texas, as you know, but if anyone's actually watching this, then you can understand the backstory. And I stayed at an Airbnb on the way in Utah, and this guy has a 2019 Model 3 that is the premium model. It's got the dual motor and stuff like that. Yeah. And he loves to show it off. And so he took us out driving and showed us the autopilot and everything. And he like, at a stop sign, he like pointed at a sign and he's like, how fast do you think I can be going by the time I get that sign? And I knew Teslas were fast, and it was like maybe like 300 feet away. In my mind, a normal car would be like going 20 by that point. And so I was like, okay, Tesla's fast, maybe he'll be going 40. So I was like, probably be going 40. He does it, he hits 70 by the time he hits that sign. I was like in the seat, and like, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun.
After he drove for a while, he let me, well, first of all, we got out in a parking lot and he showed us the summon mode, which is crazy. The first time you see it, seeing it like navigate around the parking lot.
Oh, it's summon? Yeah. What's nice about Teslas right now is that they come standard with the basic autopilot.
Yeah.
Which is like self-steering and stopping, automatic braking in traffic, and obviously cruise control. And they offer the full self-driving feature for 10 grand, which is like the navigate and autopilot, and you get the summon with that. In my opinion, that's like, it's very like beta. It's like, I wouldn't buy that for 10 grand.
I didn't have my hands on the wheel, and I was like, you'd hit a turn signal and it'll automatically like pass somebody, and like, or if you have cruise control set at 80, let's say, and the guy in front of you is going 70, the car will automatically pass it, and it was so crazy.
Okay, so yeah, so this is last month. So yeah, he did have he had a $10,000 autopilot option.
I forget if he did tell me he bought it, because he said he sort of like accidentally bought it. Something happened where like he thought he was buying something else. I don't know. He had it though, and he's like, $10,000, and then he's like, well, I guess it's worth it.
It's pretty clear on their website, but the cars already have all the hardware, so that's something I think you can buy after you buy the car if you change your mind. It might cost a little more, but they just have to like add something to the software. Let's talk about some of like Tesla, and like there's a lot of startups out there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
like Rivian, Lucid. So Tesla kind of broke through the wall, right, with everything. Mm-hmm. They made EVs cool, fast, kind of like the best car. I think the Model S Plaid was the best car that Doug DeMuro ever graded.
So the Plaid is pretty recent, right? That's like the last year or two?
Yeah, last like 5-6 months. Okay. I think they started shipping them sooner than that, actually, last like 4 months or maybe.
I knew the Model S was like, it was like Consumer Reports. It was off the charts. Like,
yeah. But
I'll have to check out the Doug DeMuro one.
Yeah, it's got the yoke steering wheel and all that.
Oh yeah, that's right. The half, yeah.
So all these startups, it's great. It's cool. I hope they succeed, but their success is all based on Tesla's success. Mm-hmm. And the one issue I see with these startups is that unlike Tesla, who made their own supercharger network, it's what's the word? It's patent, not trademark, no, copyrighted.
Yeah.
Only Teslas can use their network, and it's a like a really it's really simple, easy to do. To use their cars on their superchargers, and all these new startups, all they're using is it's called CCS, J1772 level 3 chargers systems, and they're just like, it's for the average person, even though the average person isn't buying these cars, it's not ideal because there's not enough consistent charging areas for these level 3 charging. So I think that's one like huge competitive advantage that Tesla still has.
And can Tesla use the other ones, or does Tesla have a totally proprietary thing?
Proprietary. That's
what
the
you're
word.
looking for. Okay.
Yeah, proprietary. Tesla can use public level 2 J1772, but they can't use at least in the United States, they can't use the level 3 chargers that aren't Tesla, because they have an extra 2 prongs on the bottom. Tesla has an adapter for the different the J1772 you just put on the J1772, and then that adapter is like goes into the car.
Yeah, that is a big issue, the network effects of like how convenient it is to charge your car. That's huge.
Yeah, and we can talk about that more. But right now, in my opinion, the only electric car you can truly road trip with is a Tesla. You can, unless you live like maybe on the West or East Coast, like where there's level 3 chargers that aren't superchargers, like every so often. But like in the Midwest here, like good luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you buy like a Nissan Leaf or a Chevy Volt with a B to get the battery issue fixed. You're not going to go more than 200 miles without an overnight recharge, essentially. In my opinion, maybe you do have level 3 chargers that you can use, but it's just not convenient yet for the average person. But then you go back to the average person drives 40, 50 miles a day round trip commute. So an EV would work 90% of the time for most people.
What do you think about, I haven't kept up with conventional car makers like Volkswagen and Chevy and Toyota. What about their EVs? Anything good? Anything promising there?
Well, Chevy has the Bolt EV and the Bolt EUV, which is like just like a little bit bigger car. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's kind of like a hatchback type of thing. Like
they're pretty compact, pretty small. Like my Volt has more I think more space than that car does. The Bolt does, but they have that. So it's like it's a start. Chevy's coming out with an electric truck. Ford has the F-150 Lightning in the works.
Mustang
Mach-E. Yeah. So they're getting on board, and they're all like Tesla-esque. That's the thing. Like down to the interior, they all have the big, 17-inch screen. It's maybe not 17 inches. They all have the big screen, a smaller screen in front of the driver. I'm not a big fan of the Mach-E, just because I would, again, supercharging. They don't have the supercharging network, and I just like Teslas. Teslas consistently, for the price point, they go further, faster. They have more storage room. These legacy manufacturers, their EVs, they're good products. They're niche. They're a niche product. The ID4, they have an EV, but again, you're paying a lot for, you're not getting very much. I wouldn't be interested. Toyota, the only thing they have is the Prius Prime, which is a plug-in hybrid.
Yeah.
You can go about 25 miles on electricity, and then, but the thing with that is it gets like 50 plus MPGs when it runs on gas, looking at a Model 3 or a Model Y, if you want a pure EV. I know there are other options out there, but like realistically,
as soon as something like a Toyota Corolla, like a $25,000 range, like nice car, that's probably when I'll jump in. Unless I get a used one. I'm still very interested in the Volt. Like that's a pretty awesome car.
Yeah, you can Volts with a V.
Yeah.
Volts, the plug-in hybrid. They're like used ones with like 30,000 miles, a couple years old. They give those away like 20 grand. If you want to get into an EV, like that's a used like Volt or Leaf, even some Teslas, like the 13, 14 model year Model S's are kind of getting down there in $30,000 to $40,000. If you're looking for a more affordable option and you're willing to buy used, they're definitely out there if you're willing to look.
The Volt is like the perfect car in the transition to EV, because it's like what you said about the chargers. I mean, 5 years from now, it's probably gonna look totally different. Like there's probably gonna be some like big infrastructure initiatives to build chargers and stuff. But in the meantime, you have the fallback of the gas engine, and other than that, you do 90% of your driving on electric.
Well, what's interesting, and this is just a random thought I had, is that gas stations make, from what I heard, they don't make their money on selling gas. They make their money on selling like food, like lottery tickets and cigarettes, that kind of thing, chewing tobacco. So if every filling station installed like one or two or three level 3 chargers, the problem would be solved. And obviously they would have to be relatively cheap, to charge your car, cheaper than gas. They all pretty much are. If you have to pay for them, a lot of them are free. But just like, if every filling station just installed some 2 or 3 level 3 chargers, like that'd be problem solved. But if you have to wait somewhere for 20, 30 minutes, you're probably going to go in and buy something. So
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, that works out in their favor. You can get a restaurant and you could have more stuff to do to get people to spend while they're waiting.
If what we pay for gas was what like Europeans paid or people in Canada pay, which is like, it's like $5 a gallon. I know on the West Coast it's more expensive than here. Right now it's over $3, but $5-6 a gallon is where people think like, there might be a better way to do this to get to work and back, because that gets expensive really quick.
Here in Texas, it's like $2.60 a gallon, and of course everyone has these giant trucks and like it's crazy. And then Washington, where I just came from, it was like $3.70 a gallon.
The state, right? Yeah.
And people have more sensible cars there. But yeah, that is a huge factor, is it is too cheap to drive.
I always tell people this too, anybody wants to have a discussion. Once you go EV, like you don't want to ever go back.
Yeah.
Because just the maintenance is just non-existent. You just plug your car in, you got a full tank every day, rotate the tires, replace fluids once in a while. My Volt, which, still has an engine and all that stuff that goes with it. I think I've had that car for 5 years, and I think I've changed the oil 2 or 3 times, because it's only recommended once every 2 years, unless you drive a lot on gas.
And that's like, you've never had any other issues other than routine stuff?
I've had to replace tires, and there were some cosmetic things on the inside, like the headliner was coming down, so I had that pinned back up. I did have an issue twice where it wouldn't charge. It was one was like a recall. So they went to the dealer and they recoded something, or it was all software.
Yeah.
It was like it had to stay there like overnight. They even charged it for me, but then I got it back for free. I didn't have to pay anything. And then it happened again, and it was still under warranty, so they just fixed it again. And now it's not under warranty now, so if that happens again, I'll have to pay. But it'll probably be a couple $100. But whatever. So
does the Volt tell you your electric, like, is there an odometer for your electric miles and your gas miles separate? Does it tell you?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So it's one screen, like, completely resets. So per charge, it tells you how many miles you go on electric and how many you go on gas if you use gas.
Only per charge though, or like lifetime of the car?
You can figure it out if you do some math in your head, or not, with a calculator. You can figure it out lifetime, but it only does it per charge. Oh,
okay. That would be a really interesting thing to see if you're like, wow, I've only put 10,000 miles on my gas engine, and then like that.
If I had like a couple minutes, I could figure out the calculation. But my engine on my car has 98,000 miles, I think 97,000, something like that. And I've done the math once, because you can't figure it out, but the engine has like 20,000 miles on, because that car has done some road trips across the country. Like with my solar journal, right, I reset the trip meter every month to calculate how many miles I'm driving on electricity. And this month I've driven like 12 or 1,300 miles, and I've used 1 gallon of gas. So, most of my driving is on electric with that car. As we were talking about the Volt, because the Volt's like old news, that's like, the Volt's like ancient in the world of EVs. It's such a good car. My one video that I made, it's like one of my popular ones, where I kind of just reviewed my car. It's a shame it didn't catch on more, because it is really a good car. I think it's just hard to understand if you don't understand it.
It blows my mind. Like, to me, it makes all the sense in the world to have, if most people's objection is like what we've talked about, where like they have their fear, anxiety, like, oh, my battery's going to run out if I have an EV. But the Volt has the best of both worlds, and it's a pure EV until it needs the gas. Whereas like a hybrid is, it's quite a bit different. So like a Prius anyways, is quite a bit different.
Yeah.
But So to me, it's like the perfect transition car to have. And it's crazy that every car doesn't have an option with that, like that setup.
Yeah, it's the plug-in hybrids are definitely a gateway car to EVs.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a short commute, you're just like, well, why do I have a gas engine if I don't need it?
Yeah.
Well, you have a gas engine in case you take a longer trip on the weekend, or you want to go a longer distance. If I was, rich, we would already have a Tesla, but
Yeah.
it's a financial constraint. Like I'm not gonna have a $700 a month car payment when I have a mortgage. Doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. That's a big thing to take on. The thing that, like, the guy whose Tesla I drove, he just plans to keep it forever, and I'm sure most Tesla owners would, and he's like, yeah, it's more expensive up front, but the costs of, like, his insurance is cheaper, and his gas prices went, his gas costs went to $14 a month or something. And because of electricity, and it's just like everything is cheaper about it. The maintenance, the only thing he's had to replace is tires. And yeah,
if you drive them conservatively, you'll get more range than what's rated. At least that's how it works on like my Volt and my Zero. But if I pinned my Zero at 30 miles per hour and just rode forever, I would get over 200 miles on a charge.
wow.
I mean, it would take forever to be boring, but
Yeah, I saw your video, and if anyone's watching this, if this makes it into the final cut, your video about the max range, or I guess it's not the max range, but the range at 30 miles an hour in your Volt.
yeah, I got 60 miles.
60 miles, yeah.
On a 2013. Now with the Gen 2, the updated Volt, you would probably get 70 plus if you did that. Because mine's rated at 38 miles per charge. I get like 40, 41, 42. But yeah, if you go like slow, like they've done it with Teslas too, where they've got like 500 plus miles. This was years ago. So
how's it compared to the like a Prius Prime or another comparable plug-in?
Ooh, man, that's complicated. I don't know.
The latest one, 2022 model, is only 25 miles on battery only.
Yeah, it's pretty slow, not as fast. But when you switch over to gas, though, you get like 50 plus miles per gallon, which is kind of nice. So
yeah, it says 640 mile total range. So that's pretty crazy.
So one thing you want to look with any EVs is if the battery's thermally managed. Like the Nissan Leaf, it's not. It's air cooled. You don't want that. You don't want air cooled battery. You want it to be heated in winter time and cooled in the summertime if it gets too hot, because it'll last a lot longer. So that's why I would never buy a Leaf. And the Toyota Prius Prime, I don't know if it's the battery's thermally managed, but I do know that they just stuck the battery in the trunk. So it's not very well engineered. They just stuck a bigger battery in the trunk where the normal traction battery sits in a normal Prius. So that limits your cargo space too. So I don't know. It'd be a good car. I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Not the best, yeah.
We're gonna try to keep both of our cars until we pay off our mortgage, and then go back into debt over a Tesla. Because why not?
Yeah, you got a free place to live, and just get a nice car while you're at it.
If you're new to EVs and you're leery for whatever reason, there's 3 phases that you go through, right? If you don't just like have a bunch of money and jump right into a Tesla, because if you got the money, just buy a Tesla. Don't think about anything else. The first phase is like going to like a Prius or just a regular hybrid. And for me, when I tested over Prius the first time, when it switched into EV mode and I was driving on EV, no gas, it just kind of like blew my mind. Like, wow, you can drive without burning gas. It's pretty cool. And then the next level is like a plug-in hybrid, like the Volt. So you have electric range, but you still have that gasoline backup in case you're scared of running out. And then the last phase is a pure EV. So technically we own all 3 of those: Prius, a Volt, and my motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
But the motorcycles, it's not really, I guess I used to drive it to work when I was on Camp Lejeune once in a while if the weather was nice, but it's more of like a toy. Let's call it a toy.
Yeah.
My motorcycle.
You're not going to the grocery store with it
Well, actually I did yesterday. I picked up a quart of ice cream and a bottle of bourbon.
Nice.
With my backpack.
Essentials. Yeah.
Yeah, just the bare minimum, just the bare essentials to get through the week.
For a Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We should talk about the bike more. You bought that brand new from a zero dealership, or how does that work?
Yeah, I bought it from Team Power Sports in Raleigh, North Carolina, when we were in Jacksonville, North Carolina, next to Camp Lejeune. It's been good so far.
Yeah.
Cross my fingers.
And you've had other bikes, right? Gasoline bikes before?
Yeah, in high school when I first started riding, I had a 1983 Honda CX 650, which is a pretty rare bike, and it was really cool. It's like everybody wishes they still had their first bike, but when I got out of the Marine Corps the first time at enlisted, I bought a '07 Harley Sportster 1200 and had that through college. Sold it before I got back into the Marine Corps as an officer, and then when we got to Camp Lejeune, about 6 months after we got to Camp Lejeune, I bought the Zero.
Does that one go off of the charge, like a typical charging station that you'd find at, I forget what you called it, what the title of the charging station?
Yeah, so there's level 1, 2, and there's level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 is like a regular household outlet, and that's how I charge it at home. It's very slow, and it comes with the bike. But that's the odd.
8 hours, 12 hours. How slow?
So it depends how empty the bike is. So like last night I drove to Walmart and back, and it was like 22 miles. So I started like with 90%, and I had like 77% when I got home. And if it's like that and I'm not planning on taking a longer trip, I just let it go. I don't even charge it because I don't need to. But if you can run it down to like single digits, it'd probably take 9-10 hours to charge back up.
Okay.
But like I've never been in single digits for the percentage of range, and I've only been in like the teens once. It's because I just don't let it get down that far. And I don't try to take road trips with it because it's not a road trip bike for me. Mm-hmm. If you want level 2 charging on that, you can buy an upgrade charge tank, they call it, and then it'll charge in like an hour or two. But you have to have a level 2 charger, which is more voltage and more amps at home. And then no, it doesn't come with level 3. That's the level 4. Level 4 is like level 3 is like DC fast charging, like what Tesla superchargers use.
Level 4 would be like explode your battery instantly.
Level 4 would be like magic. You just touch the car and it fully charges or something.
A few years ago, I heard about Tesla was like experimenting with a way to just remove the empty battery pack and put on a new fresh one. Have you heard anything about that? Is that still in the works?
No, that was a long time ago, and I don't know why they stopped with that. I just think that, I mean, they had a way to do it. They had a demo where like they could replace the battery pack in the time it took to fill a car with gas, essentially. But I think there's a lot of issues with that. And like one is like warranty of the car. When you have a different battery pack, like, you know what I mean? Like that's like installing another engine in your car. Yeah. So it's like you buy a used car, like, all right, is this the original battery? Is this a new battery? What's going on with that? And then I think because their supercharger network is so convenient, it just kind of like one of those things just went away. It just wasn't like a feasible thing for Tesla. But it was a really good proof of concept. Like, hey, we can do this if we needed to.
Super convenient, but that does raise questions like, what if you get a bad battery and you're like, what the hell, man? I just gotta.
Yeah, or like, oh, my warranty's about to end. I'm gonna drive to California, where the one place they do it, and do a battery swap and I'll have a brand new battery.
Yeah.
You know, like, stuff like that. So why don't you have an EV?
Why don't I?
Cost.
Like I said with the Yaris, I think I probably told you, like, whatever my next car is, it's gonna be electric. Like, I've been saying that for years. I was like really like holding off on buying a combustion engine car, but the way it worked out, I bought back my old car when I got back from living overseas.
Or like super cheap too, right?
Yeah, super cheap.
Yeah.
Tiny Toyota Yaris, but
it's like they're fun. It's like yours was a manual too.
Yeah. It is.
Like a little go-kart with the one wiper.
Yeah.
Does it have 2?
It has 2. It has 2.
Okay, because we've rented one before, like on a trip where it just had the one.
That's funny. It has the gauge cluster is in the center, and it doesn't even have a tachometer. It's just miles per hour and gas. That's it. Like,
people made a big deal about the Model 3 when it came out with the center screen and the MPH in the top left. You know what I'm talking about?
That it didn't have a driver screen to me.
Yeah, and like you're like, oh, that might be weird, but when you get one and drive one, you're like, it's right there.
Yeah.
I mean, on our Prius, it's not centered. It's up towards the windshield. I love it because it's almost like a heads-up display.
Yeah, you get used to it. It takes me getting used to the standard car now if I get into another car. And I've been looking at getting a different car. So I'd probably do like a Volt or I've been looking at Priuses for a long time. So I probably will do something like that before I jump to a Tesla.
Going into like the environmental aspect of it, that's not like a factor for me. I think if you've driven EVs or own an EV, like that's kind of like a secondary, like, oh yeah, I'm not polluting. This is cool. But like, they're just better. They're just a better way to transport yourself. You know, that's really what it comes down to. I will say though, like it's not for everybody. Everybody can't have one, you know, right now. Like everybody doesn't have a way to charge their car overnight. To really get the full advantage of an EV, you really need to like own a house or where you can install a level 2 charger, which is the faster home charging, or be okay with just plugging into a regular outlet if you rent or something. But if you live in an apartment or something, like you can make it work, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, that is also part of my factoration is like I'm renting. So
yeah, but I mean, honestly, like you could talk to the owner about installing level 2. It's not that hard. You know, if you were paying for it, have an electrician come out, put a NEMA 1450 outlet, install 40 amp breaker, or, you know, with a Volt, you don't even need that. You just need a level 1. So you just plug into the regular wall outlet that's already in the garage.
Now you have level 2?
Yeah. Yep.
And it's all hooked up to the solar?
Yeah. So when the sun's out, the house takes whatever it needs, including the car, because it's all on the same panel. And then if there's excess, it goes into the grid. And if it's not producing enough, it pulls from the grid. So
there's no storage. It's just always either like using or giving back to the grid.
Right. Yeah. And this is discussion for next video. Yeah. So it's I'll just answer it really quick. It's a grid tied system, meaning that we get credit from the power company for any kilowatt hours that we put into the system. The grid essentially acts as our storage. The only reason we would have a battery is if we wanted backup if the power went up. And since we've lived here over a year, the power's gone out twice, and it's been for like 4 hours.
Someday you get the Tesla Powerwall.
Yeah, I mean, if money were no option, sure, I'd have one. I'd have one or two out there. Yeah, we're at the end of our time. That was our discussion about EVs. I've been Clay Bierman. He's been
This is Ross.
Ross.
With Ross.
With Ross.
Hopefully, if you made it to the end of this video, you found something useful and insightful.
Yeah, for sure. Next video is going to be about solar.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll kind of talk about the Marine Corps a little bit, because we're both in the Marine Corps, and that way it won't be so one-sided with me just talking the whole time.
Yeah, we can have more discussion type of stuff. Yeah, it works.
Well, see you next time.